Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video, and this is a paid request for Lucas. Thank you so much for that. For those interested, requesting any type of videos, whether it be a movie review, re-review, random thoughts, streams, commentaries, topics, video game playthrough for an hour, full playthrough, whatever the case may be, feel free to send it. I'll get to it as soon as I possibly can. And for those who sent them, thank you. I do appreciate it. Now, this is for Transformers Prime Season 2. Now, before I get into the specifics, I did not mind Season 1. I liked it for what it was. Now, it's one of those things where, I didn't mind the CGI animation. The humans looked a bit weird, but the Autobots, Decepticons, I liked the way they looked. The designs were not my favorite. I would say characters like Wheeljack and Bumblebee I didn't mind. Bulkhead I didn't mind him. His face a little bit reminded me of the Iron Giant. Starscream I thought his design was just kind of lame. Megatron looked fine. The music was there. I thought Brian Tyler has done better work though. There's a lot of times I would not even think of or pay attention to the music, so it was there. I could take it or leave it. But I mean, overall, I liked the idea, make it a bit more serious, take a little bit to heart of the characters of the Autobots and how the stakes seem to be raised a bit. I don't want to use the term dark and gritty, but they try to go a little bit into that route, which I could appreciate. Now, Season 2 and then Season 3, because Lucas had me review all 3 seasons. That was the request. Very generous. Thank you once again, Lucas. I didn't care much for this season. I mean, it's 26 episodes like the first season, but at times it felt like it dragged. At times it felt a bit tough to get through. I think, especially when you get in the later season of this and Season 3, they would bring up these arcs that then don't go anywhere. The human characters, I think this show could have done without the human characters at all. Maybe you could keep Ernie Hudson's character as the agent working with the government, because it's Ernie Hudson. I don't mind. I liked Ernie Hudson, but the human characters like Jack was such a boring character, human character, that at times you would completely forget he was in the fucking show. There'd be multiple episodes that he's like barely there. Raph, for some reason this kid is like Jimmy fucking Neutron and knows everything and can talk to Bumblebee and understand what Bumblebee's saying without any much of explanation, and he can hack into government black sites and do all this. He can do stuff even the Transformers can't do, like even Ratchet can't do, but this little kid can do. And Miko, holy shit, she's so goddamn annoying, irritating, impulsive, gets various characters in trouble. They gotta babysit her all the goddamn time because she acts like a fucking toddler with the thumb up her ass. I hate Miko. She's the worst part of this goddamn show. So the human characters I thought sucked, except for Ernie Hudson. I didn't give a shit about Jack's mom or anything. Optimus Prime, is great to see Peter Cullen. Although they don't really do much with his personality, he's pretty much just the stoic leader who gives words of wisdom. But there's never any other types of personality Optimus Prime has. He never has fun. He never really thinks of anything else. Peter Cullen's doing a great job. It's just, you kind of wish they gave a bit more of Optimus Prime as a character. Bumblebee, considering how important of a thing he does at the end of Season 3, again, there are points where you forget he's in the damn show. And I thought Bumblebee was going to be like a bigger character throughout the show. I would say it's more RC and Bulkhead. RC is whatever with her. Bulkhead I grew to like. Wheeljack has two swords, is a Autobot of action. I could enjoy that part of his character, and I like his design. Ratchet is maybe my favorite character on the show because it's Jeffrey Combs. I liked how he kind of had this, not distaste for humanity, but seemed a little bit into that direction, and you kind of see him letting his guard down around these folks more and more and more so. And I think Jeffrey Combs did a wonderful job. Frank Welker did a great job as Megatron, although Megatron at times was a shitty leader. I think at times Starscream was a better leader. Starscream was the best surprise. And that's why we get to Season 3, which I'll get to in a future video. It's disappointing what they did with his character, because I would say what they do with his character here is the more intriguing part of the season, where he's kind of on his own, and then he'll like try to give information to the Autobots, and he's kind of working both sides, and he doesn't belong to either side, and then when it just goes back to, yeah, he goes back to Megatron, he's his lackey again, he's his servant again, he's now just a joke and a fool again. I'm like, wow, it's like they were scared of making Starscream interesting like they were doing in Season 2, so they just gave it up in Season 3, which I thought was really shitty. And then when they start adding new characters, there's so many characters that you gotta juggle around for 20 minutes apiece with these episodes. That's, of course, some characters are going to be left behind. And so it's hard to say who the main character is. I think that's why a lot of shows you have like those two or so or three main characters, like Star Trek, Kirk, Spock, McCoy. Now you have the others get their moments, but those are the main thrust of the most of the plots. Doesn't really feel like the case here. It kind of feels like, okay, here's a lottery. Now this is Bulkhead's turn. Okay, this is RC's turn. Okay, this is this turn. So, I don't know. I thought it could have had a better flow to it. Let's get through, because this will be a long video. The first couple episodes, they deal with the fact that Optimus Prime lost his memory. He now thinks he's his old self, Orion Pax. And Megatron takes advantage of that and says, hey, my friend, we've gotten you away from those awful Autobots, and they're the enemy, and look what they did to Cybertron, and trying to convince Optimus Prime that the Decepticons are the good guys. So it's interesting to see Peter Cullen voice Orion Pax. You definitely hear a little bit of a difference between the two, which was cool. The good guys, they need to get to some supercomputer to get Optimus Prime's memories back. Jack, the human, he can only use his T that Optimus gave him. He's an honorary Prime. And to be honest, Jack, he has not done enough to really justify all of that. I mean, hell, even the Autobots like Bulkhead and some others have done a lot more than Jack has. So, it's like, well, we gotta give the Jack, because we set that up at the first episode that he's going to be the main guy. But then again, Jack kind of falls to the background so much in the show that you almost forget he's even part of the fucking show. But they made it apparent like he's going to be the main thrust at the first episode. But I didn't really feel that was the case throughout this. So pretty much RC is going to help him get into where Jack needs to go. Episode 2, Optimus is still Orion Pax. He still thinks the Decepticons are the good guys, and he's trying to get this information. And Starscream comes in because he wants to steal some stuff. sees Optimus, tells him a bit of the truth. You see Starscream fighting amongst the Decepticons, flying away. Orion Pax has doubts because Megatron said, had told him that Starscream was dead. And now doubts creep into Orion Pax's head. The Autobots trying to figure out how to build a space bridge to get back to where they need to use this device to get Optimus Prime's memories. And the little kid Raph has this stupid fucking comparison where he's like talking to Ratchet and, well, build a space bridge is like when I was in gym and to climb a rope. And Ratchet's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I agree, Jeffrey Combs, what the fuck is this kid talking about? Well, I was told I could have given up, but I didn't. And I climbed up and I climbed the rope. Because climbing the rope is the same as building an entire fucking space bridge. You know, when I killed this guy, it's like when I walked across the street. And I wasn't sure if I could do it, but then I did it. I'm like, really? That's such a stupid fucking comparison. Starscream's been injured. He offers information to the Autobots for medical attention. It occurs. And RC and Jet are able to get to Cybertron. And that's where we get to episode 3. Where RC fights these creatures called the Insecticons. And also there's those scraplets that were in season 1, the little munchies that could eat all sorts of metal. Optimus has more doubts of what's going on. Pretty much, Megatron finds what RC and Jack are doing. He goes over there. The Autobots get there. Megatron whips their ass. Bumblebee comes off as a pussy so many times in this. But I get it. Megatron, he's the big bad guy. You can't have them beat Megatron because then how is that going to make Optimus Prime important? But I think these Autobots could have given a better fight against Megatron. I just Bulkhead does a little bit, but like Bumblebee, Megatron just slams him like one time and that's it. Should have had where Bumblebee is much more adamant and much more angry and much more determined against Megatron because of what Megatron did to his voice box. And he can't quite get it, but maybe with each fight he gets closer and closer to beating Megatron, but he can't quite get to that. No, he just slams Bumblebee once and he's just down for the count. I'm like, what a bitch. Eventually, Jet gets the thing to Orion Pax. He becomes Optimus Prime. Says, Megatron, be gone, and smacks Megatron. Whips Megatron's ass. I will say, a positive note, some of the fight scenes are fun to watch. Like Optimus beating the shit out of Megatron, or how some of the action scenes, battle scenes of the Autobots and Decepticons, they definitely put what they could. Now, these episodes were very expensive, which probably led to his cancellation, although others say it was always meant to be 3 seasons, and 3 seasons only. So just take that for you will. But I do know this was an expensive show to do. And then for the rest of the season, it's just a... What's the best way to put it? A certain phrase I'm thinking of. A fetch quest. It's a fetch quest. Oh, here's these relics. We gotta go get the relics. More times than not, Decepticons get that relic. Once in a while, Autobots get a relic. But then you know that the bad guys don't get all the relics anyway, and the good guys gotta go stop it. Or something else gonna happen, and so it's just a lot of this fetch quest. Here's this MacGuffin, we gotta go get it. It just wasn't that interesting of a story to me. So like episode 4, the Spark Extractor, looking for relics. Bumblebee steals from Megatron, but Mech, that human terrorist group, that Clancy Brown leaves that was in season 1. He steals something from Bumblebee, so now he can't transform and also shoot his weapons. Starscream is now working for Mech. We did a little bit of flashback that Bumblebee's voice was torn off from Megatron. A lot of times for these flashbacks, they do it in not quite still pictures, but close to it. I don't know why they do it that way. Where you see the kind of movement, but barely. Maybe it was away from the save on the budget, or it was an artistic choice. I don't know. I would just prefer these flashbacks to be played like the rest of the show in regular motion, but oh well. But Starscream starts working for Mech because he's a robot on his own terms. Ratchet in episode 5 offers his T-Cod to the Bumblebee. B stupidly tries to get his own T-Cod back and just Starscream destroys it for it. But then it was all for naught because Ratchet just ends up repairing it anyway and fixing Bumblebee as if everything's fine and dandy and new. While Megatron gets this relic, this hammer. And you're like, well, wow. Like, it's just one of those things where nothing really comes of that. No circumstances later on comes of that whole thing. Like the T-Cod maybe wasn't fixed as well as it could, or it changes Bumblebee, or he could only fix it enough so Bumblebee can do some things but not other things. It's like, whatever. I like the stories here didn't really pique my interest, to be honest. Episode 6, you see Wheeljack again. I do like the character Wheeljack. I liked his attitude. I liked his action, drive. Wanted to kick-ass take names, which I can appreciate. Dreadwing, we're introduced to him, voiced by the great Tony Todd. Very cool. Tony Todd really brings a lot to that character. He just had that voice, and I've always been a fan of Tony Todd. This I thought was one of the better episodes. I would say this is actually one of the best episodes of this season. Just for the fact of having Tony Todd, and you find out Dreadwing was the brother of that Skyquake character in the first season. So he has a personal score to settle. He puts a bomb on Bulkhead. Wheeljack's trying to find a way to disarm it. Optimus Prime gets to have his badass moments. Because they're in this maze of shipping containers, and him and Dreadwing are playing cat and mouse, shooting at each other. Until they get into a big fight. Optimus Prime is able to show some cool moves. That one I thought was a very fast-paced episode. Tony Todd was a great asset to have in it. Optimus Prime has a little bit of stuff to do. And yeah, I like the character Wheeljack. Episode 7, Megatron tells Dreadwing and Breakdown, that's the guy, the Decepticon voiced by Adam Baldwin from Predator 2 and other films. Full Metal Jacket, among others. He's also the, I guess you say, the rival against Bulkhead. The big, green, fat Autobot that's more about destruction. Pretty much Megatron says, kill Arachnid for treason, but Breakdown gets killed. Megatron kills Insecticon. Starscream saves RC. From what I heard, they didn't want to pay Adam Baldwin anymore, so they just said, "Oh, we're just going to kill the character off." And that's what I'm talking about. Like, they bring up these scenarios and these rivalries, like between Bulkhead and Breakdown. And they think, okay, ultimately it's going to be Bulkhead destroying Breakdown, or maybe Breakdown, whoever Bulkhead had saved, he has a certain hesitance because, hey, this guy saved my life, I need to repay the favor. Something comes into that where it becomes this, I don't know, becomes this actual ending of that arc. But no, it's just, yeah, he's killed by this bitch, and there you go. I'm like, okay. It just felt kind of, where the hell was this leading to? Why did you bring that up to begin with when you didn't do anything to finish that arc? It's like, whatever. Optimus has a clone in episode 8 because that group mech made a version of a Transformer, a version of Optimus Prime. Of course, they realize it's not Optimus. Ernie Hudson buys enough time for Optimus to beat the clone's ass. Once again, it shows that Bumblebee is a bitch, because he gets his ass kicked that quickly and easily. Episode 9, for some reason, it's a clip show. I didn't know they did clip shows this late in TV. Like, clip shows was a thing back to the day, I thought, with The Simpsons and like plenty of TV shows. It's, well, we need to save some time, we need to save some budget, we have this amount of episodes to do, so we make it a clip show. We do throw a lot of clips of various stuff. We don't have to write a lot of new material. It'll save us a bit of time. We only have to do a fraction of the work, and then we could go on and work on the other stuff. But it's a clip show. Pretty much Ernie Hudson's talking to his general, voiced by Robert Forster. Nice to hear Robert Forster. And then it'll cut to Ernie Hudson explaining who everybody's at, what they've done, what they continue to do. And you're shown a lot of clips from Season 1 and early Season 2. So, depends how you feel about clip shows. One thing that was funny, I will say, is Optimus Prime comes in, and kind of a bit of humor where he's kind of awkward and looks to the general and goes, "How are you?" And the general doesn't know what to say, so Robert Forster goes, "Oh, okay." Like, that was funny. But yeah, just weird that, you put a clip show out of all this. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, I've talked about 9 episodes. I barely mentioned the character of Bulkhead, except he had a bomb on him because of Dreadwing. So now we get to this, where this one I didn't mind, because it throws you a bit of a loop where Bulkhead is on the Decepticon ship, and it looks like he kills Starscream. Then it goes back 24 hours, and you find out Starscream created a bunch of clones of his, and so a bunch of his clones are kind of going around the ship. I thought that was interesting, how that all happened, what each Starscream was doing at this certain time and part of the ship. How Bulkhead has to try to get out on his own, and everywhere he turns, some more screwies happening. He even brings down the whole damn ship. Arachnid, that girl gets captured, and Starscream kills his own clone because he knows the clone is going to kill him. Again, Starscream, the reason I grew to like him, or I should say become more interesting characters, because I always remember him as being just the guy who is scared of Megatron, always wanted to turn on him, but always had this scaredy cat coward veil to him. So to see him that there's still a bit of that, but he's still at times a bit more assertive, a bit more serious, a bit more dangerous, a bit more of a threat. Sometimes it seems like a bit better of a leader. And the fact that he wants to turn away from Megatron, and then at one point he wants to join the Autobots, but then RC can't handle that Starscream killed Cliffjumper in episode 1, so now he doesn't want to join the... It seemed like he was going to join the Autobots, but then he doesn't because of what RC was going to do. And now he's going to play by his own rules, which I think would have been interesting, but like I said, then it just goes back to Megatron's lapdog and kind of just goes back to square one, it seems. So it felt like all that shit was for nothing, if that makes sense. Episode 11, Megatron uses Dark Energon, but it makes the ship he's on alive. There's a stasis beam that freezes the Autobots and then freezes the Decepticons. And then it's up to the three kids to go over and hit the switch. And like when it comes, sometimes this stuff feels like an obligation. Like we have to find a way for these kids to be worth the shit. So we don't have to find at least 1 or 2 or 3 episodes of the 20-some that showcases why these kids... So in season 1, the Scraplets, these little creatures can eat metal. Well, they won't eat the humans, so that's a way for them to help out. Optimus Prime's going to give this tea to Jack. Granted, it's stupid. Going back to that, it's fucking stupid that he gives that to Jack. Because if something that important, what's Jack going to do to protect it? Use harsh language? Moon? Pull his pants down to moon the adversary? When you, like Ratchet or Bulkhead, like these who can actually defend themselves, would make a lot more fucking sense that they would carry this important piece than Jack, who can't do anything to defend himself. That would need someone to protect him anyway, so why don't you give it to the protector? But we gotta find something for this kid to do, otherwise we'll debate more about how fucking pointless these humans are. Which they are. That's the you wrote yourself into a corner with that one. I did like Jeffrey Combs as Ratchet because the medic on the Decepticon ship is ready to hurt the kids. And then Ratchet comes in and says, "I'm here to offer a second opinion," and beats the shit out of that Decepticon medic. So I thought that was cool. But yeah, like I said, I'm a big Jeffrey Combs fan. Episode 12, they're going to do another relic. RC's in a subway tunnel. The kids have to deal with this construction worker in order to hide that there's Autobots and Decepticons. Didn't care about that episode at all. Episode 13, which I don't know if it'll be before or after this, you have seen a reaction to, because Lucas specifically had also requested a reaction to the episode. That I did like. I thought that was one of the better episodes. I liked the fact it takes place in Antarctica. I liked the fact that it centers on Optimus Prime and Starscream. Starscream's hunted by Dreadwing and company, gets caught. Optimus fights Dreadwing, including jumping over missiles and stuff. There's his armor. Starscream takes the armor, and now Optimus and Dreadwing have to get together to fight and deal with Starscream. So here's 3 characters I enjoy. Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime. Tony Todd as Dreadwing. I think it's Steve Blum as Starscream. Sorry if I get that wrong. But here's 3 characters I like. 3 characters I'm intrigued by. Optimus, again, I think they could have given him a bit more personality throughout the show, but Peter Cullen's voice definitely works very well. Tony Todd, his character, has kind of a sense of honor, but at the same time, he's rattled with rage about what happened to his brother. And then Starscream, who will turn on anybody to help his own, secure his own finances, so to speak, to make sure it works out for him. I did like the armor that he turns on, and I like the design of it. The fight scenes are fun. Blows up the ice, falls to the ground. And then Starscream, you see at the bottom of the ocean, how you want to put it, he's walking towards, obviously, the surface, however long that takes. And yet the fucking next time you see him, I'm like, does he not have the armor anymore? But then he eventually turns it on and he does. But it just... You really thought he was really going to go to the next level after that. Episode 14 is Wheeljack and Ratchet working together. They did chase in the sky. They're shot down. Soundwave is going after them. He has this thing called Laser Beak. That got shot down. So Ratchet goes, I'll put a virus into Laser Beak. You gotta give me some time, Wheeljack. So Wheeljack's given some time. Almost gets his ass kicked by Soundwave, but then Ratchet finishes up a Laser Beak. Put a virus in it so they don't get some information out when it gets back to Decepticon stuff. Episode 15, there's this toxin. Bulkhead has to get this relic, but because this toxin has to put in a volcano, when it gets near a robot, it makes them weaker and sicker. So he's trying to fight these bad guys while also dealing with this. Eventually throws into the volcano. Runs off, ready to get away, but gets shot in the back. And so by episode 16, he's in critical condition. Wheeljack and Miko want revenge, and they pretty much do so. Which is funny how they made this so goddamn apparent that RC cannot showcase revenge. RC cannot kill blank and blank because of what happened to Cliff Jumper and all this stuff. But it was fine for Miko and them to just go out and kill who almost killed Bulkhead. That's fine. So it's like, okay, well, which is it? It's more like, well, we can't kill this character now because Starscream, and it's important, but this character, we don't need him anymore. Okay. And I hate Mito, I hate Mito, I hate Mito. Why does Mito get that kill? Why does Mito have to be the one? And then episode 17, she's a bitch. She gets mad at Bulkhead because he's making a slow recovery. And ultimately, she's told a story by RC about her and Cliff Jumper caught and having to deal with Shockwave. And of course, no, Cliff Jumper's not voiced by The Rock, because they can only afford him for that first episode. So I don't know who voices him in this flashback. But this whole thing about Bulkhead being in critical condition, then Ratchet's like, more than likely you're not going to be in 100% shape. No, in another episode or two, he's back in shape and pretty much fine. No lasting effects, so that was kind of all for nothing. Really, I mean, we're introduced to Smokescreen, which I didn't mind him. I didn't mind him as a character. He's more of a rookie character. Rookie wanting some action. And yeah, I like Smokescreen. I would say that's one asset I did like in this season, introducing him. Definitely has a bit ball of energy to him, but he wasn't annoying or anything. They introduced this thing called Red Energon, where Starscream uses it, and he can only have a few uses. And actually, he uses that later. Instead, in this one, we see what Smolescreen can do, where there's this relic where you can phase shift. He uses it to get Starscream out of his armor, able to kick some ass. Bulkhead. People see, wow, look how good this guy is, and look how good he was able to do it. And Bulkhead's depressed about that because he feels like he's going to be replaced. Episode 19, Silas and Matt have this laser satellite. Smolescreen helps Bulkhead. Bulkhead accepts help. And this is what I'm talking about. You think, okay, now maybe there's going to be a thing where now Smolescreen and Bulkhead are going to be like buddies. And maybe throughout this in season 3, they're going to be like brothers. Like the older brother and the younger brother, where they pick on each other, or they... There's a lot of things they could do with that. They don't do anything with that. Like, at all. And same with Smolescreen. Like, they build him up to seem like he's going to be a pretty important character. Just even at the beginning of season 3, Optimus Prime is hurt, and he's thinking, maybe you should be the new Prime, Smolescreen. I'm like, well, you barely know him, but I guess... They try and make him a bit of an important character in the last part of season 2. But then when Optimus Prime comes back, other than Smolescreen asking Bumblebee, you ever thought of being a Prime? Then that's completely dropped and nothing ever comes of it. And then after that initial part of season 3, Smolescreen is pretty much in the background and no longer that important, which I thought was weird. And then they introduced Michael Ironside's character, and it's like, Jesus Christ, like... It felt like there was no actual direction that they knew to go into. They're like, this sounds good here, we'll forget about it, in 10 minutes, but this sounds like a good idea. Do they take that to its full fruition? No. That was the annoying thing about this, too. It's like, goddamn thing, man. Come on. So that got a bit annoying. Again, the voice acting, I don't mind. Most of the characters, like Bulkhead, I thought he was kind of a lovable character and grew to like him. I would say he's... Like, if I said, like, top 5 favorite characters in no order, I would say Ratchet, Bulkhead, Starscream, Optimus Prime, and maybe Wheeljack. Episode 20, Jack and Smolescreen start hanging out. Optimus Prime gets the sword. And then you think, okay, is it going to be like maybe Jack is going to try to go more towards Smolescreen, and they're going to start hanging out with each other, and then RC is going to feel left behind, but then Jack's going to stay with RC. They don't really do much with that. And then that big sword that they make a big deal out of, they only have it for like one episode, and then the next episode, there's a fight with Megatron and it gets fucking broken. So it feels like that sword was... Fuck was the point of it. These things they need, the Omega Key, Starscream uses that red energon to go in, gets it, and goes back to Megatron. It goes back to him. Why do they not follow their course of action where Starscream is going to be on his own 2 feet and then he's going to be the one, so then maybe it'll be, wow, he becomes more powerful and people start respecting him, and then he grows an army of his own, and then Optimus and Megatron maybe have to work together to deal with Starscream, because without Starscream, who could have thought Starscream would have been the big bad because he's the one only looking out for himself. He has no ties to either cause. So either he could be the ultimate enemy or he could be the ultimate surprise and do the right thing. I mean, that's a lot of things you could have done with him. They don't do any of that. Instead, he just goes back to Megatron. And that's when Dreadwing sees this. Is like, wait a minute, that guy helped kill my brother. You letting him back in? And helps out the Autobots, and he gets killed. In fact, he gets killed to save Starscream. And I'm sorry, Megatron... Is Megatron in love with Starscream? Does he want to butt-fuck Starscream? Is that what it is? I'm going to ask again. Does Megatron want to butt-fuck Starscream? Don't ask me how that would work. Maybe someone with pistons or cylinders. Because so many times Starscream has screwed up, has turned on Megatron, has done this and done that. And there's multiple times that Megatron should have killed Starscream. But this one time that Dreadwing goes out of line, he kills him. Or he's arachnid, treason, go kill her. But all that you give Starscream 80 fucking chances. And I'm sitting there going, why? Like, just because the plot dictates it, or there's some kind of love affair that we don't know about. I'm telling you. And ultimately you go through the episodes where at the end of the season there's this big thing that's going to help Cybertron and screw over both planets, but Optimus Prime destroys it. So while it dooms Cybertron, it saves Earth. Ratchet is pissed off about that, which I thought was kind of an interesting reaction because it's his home planet too that he cares about. But of course Optimus is like, well, we're not going to condemn this planet. Destroys the Omega lot, but their base gets destroyed as well. The Decepticons find out where they're at. They gotta separate. Their base gets destroyed, and that's where you get into Season 3. Now, the whole plot of the relics wasn't really interesting. It's trying to be this one big overlong story. I can understand that. I have to wonder if you didn't follow this every episode, you might get confused. Like if you go into episode 14, which would have been Chasing the Sky, both shot down, you'd be wondering what are they doing and what's going on and what's their goal? Because there's not a whole lot of singular episodes. Here's this threat, they did defeat it, save the day. It's mostly this one overarching story. But I just don't find the story that interesting, to be honest. And there's not really much room for the characters to really do anything that's not the mission. So you never see the characters really having fun or doing stuff willy-nilly, or what do they do on their off time. And even like the Ninja Turtles, you would see them, let's compare another cartoon, and you would see them hanging out or playing games or doing stuff on their off time. And then maybe they do a mission, or maybe they do something like that. And there's much more episodes you go in, you watch, and you understand what's going on, because it has a beginning, middle, of end, and you don't have to... Yeah, there are episodes you watch, it works better if you've seen the other stuff, but here it seems more essential to watch it all the way through to further get what's going on. And like I was talking about characters, like all the stuff I mentioned, how much of Bumblebee, for example, was in that? Smallstring gets more of the attention later on. Bulkhead getting her and being in critical condition. Optimus Prime dealing with Starscream and Dreadwing in the Arctic. Wheeljack and Ratchet dealing with stuff. The ship being alive and the kids have to go fix everything. Bulkhead dealing with all the clones of Starscream and other stuff on the ship. Like, other than a little bit with Bumblebee where his cog was taken and then he was useless, then he had to get it back and get it fixed. What the fuck did Bumblebee do this entire season? Hell, I mean, I just say, what the hell did RC do? Like, RC, they made it seem as if she was going to be the main thrust, the main star from season 1. She really doesn't have a whole lot to do here in season 2. The beginning part where she's got to protect Jack and they get Optimus Prime's memory. There's a bit where in the subway tunnel to get the artifact, which I don't even remember if they did get it or if Decepticons got it. The flashback that she tells Biko. So she has more than Bumblebee has. Bulkhead, I mean, other than the bit on the ship, him getting hurt, being in critical condition, and you think, okay, maybe he's going to have some handicap, but you could tell how being a handicap doesn't mean you're useless. Having a handicap doesn't mean you can't do anything. If that maybe in a way makes him stronger, or makes him think more, makes him more strategic, and how you overcome a handicap and in fact become better with it. No, they don't do anything with that. He's just about to 100%, even though they said that wasn't going to be the case, just because. So, it is what it is. So, again, while some action scenes were fun, some of the characters I like, it was a worth a watch, sure. But was I a big fan of this? No. That's just me. I would probably say I liked this more, though, than Season 3, because Season 3 I probably liked less. So, take that for you will. Thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye for now.